What would you do differently if you knew that there was no possibility of being judged? What would you pursue? What dreams would you finally pursue? What are the hobbies, the classes that you would take if you knew that there was no possibility of embarrassing yourself? I want you to expand your mind, open up your mind to receive. Pause this video, close your eyes, and just write down everything that comes to mind. Please do this because there's no point in continuing if you are not going to write down of all the possibilities, all the dreams that you have buried and repressed. Remove all fear of judgment of other people's opinions, and just write it down without judgment. Okay, if you've done that, how does that feel? How does it feel to imagine yourself doing so many of these things, like perhaps going to that dance class, finally trying acting, giving acting a try, or finally writing that piece or writing a book or speaking in stages? It probably feels limitless, right? When you start being in that zone and that frequency of imagining what is possible. And I know that you have felt that previously in your life when, that one specific night you're just in your room, you feel this high. It's like, oh my God, I can change my life. I'm going to change the world. Everything's going to be so different from now on. And then the next day, just in one snap, somebody comments something of this new personality that you have, or how come you're so positive, or what do you mean you want to be a writer? And it throws you off the tracks completely. A lot of us are living in this tug of war between the fear of judgment of other people and our own calling, our own voice. And I'm so passionate about this video because this is personally something that I have struggled with like literally all of my life. And each year I discover a deeper layer of my people-pleasing tendencies. There's actually this one quote from Dostoevsky that says, "Your worst sin is that you have destroyed and betrayed yourself for nothing." And I want you to really just carry that quote all throughout this video. So there's a book that I read. It's called The Courage to be Disliked. I remember I actually bought this around a month ago. I was in the bookstore and this one book just stood out to me. And honestly, it was a time in my life, which, not too long ago, literally a month ago, I was just so tired of all of my people-pleasing tendencies. Really struggled with vocal anxiety. I don't know if you guys have even heard of that, but it's basically from a fear of public speaking. And I found myself in situations where the moment I would do some public speaking, my voice, I literally felt extremely suffocated, and it was something very physical. So I knew that this is something that I really needed to fix. And I read this book, which completely altered my view on this anxiety that I have been struggling with for literally the last 6 years. And I really just felt the need and urge to share this with you guys, although I'm literally working through it right now at this moment. I can already see just how my mindset towards my public speaking anxiety has totally changed, and now I do not use that as an excuse anymore to not go after my own dreams. The Courage to be Disliked is actually based on Adlerian psychology. So you probably have not heard of Adlerian psychology because it's just quite controversial, and the common psychology that we hear of is Freudian psychology. So I'll just be showing you visually what is the difference between Freudian psychology and Adlerian psychology. Please stay with me. Maybe this part is a little bit more technical, but I'm telling you, this concept literally freed me, and it changed my mind on so many of the fears that have literally held me back for years and years. Okay, just think of your life as this line, okay? We've got the past in here, past, present, and the future. Okay. So what does Freudian psychology say? What did Freud believe? He believed in etiology. So that means that the past determines my present state. I am this way because this happened. Because of blah, blah, blah. I am because of past. I hope you can see that. Is that even clear? My goodness, it's probably not. This video is chaotic. Whereas Adlerian psychology, that is based on teleology, it basically says that we are goal oriented people. So I am the way that I am in order to, and then fill in the blanks. So this is the major distinction. Freudian psychology very much focused on past, on trauma, on your childhood experiences. Adlerian psychology, which is the whole concept of this book, it's forward looking, and it basically says that we as humans, we have goals, whether that be positive or negative, whether we consciously are aware of it or not. And it goes as far as saying that trauma does not exist, and this is why Adlerian psychology is not popular. This is why it's so controversial. What I love about Adlerian psychology is it gives us literally no circumstance to blame, because only the present exists. The past does not exist in Adlerian psychology. Alfred Adler, that's the psychologist who invented Adlerian psychology, he said the only thing that you have is literally the present moment, and you are literally a new creation every single day. Even the Bible talks about this, that our mercies are new every day, that we are a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. And I love Adlerian psychology. It gives us literally nobody, no past, no circumstance to blame. Only the goals that we set for ourselves. So to give you a very clear example, right? There's this one instance in the book where this woman has feelings for a man, and she tells this philosopher, like, I cannot confess my feelings to this man because I have a blushing problem. I keep blushing whenever I'm around people that I like, and it's just I have this fear. I cannot come up to this man. The philosopher says, no, you have created this fear yourself. You have fabricated this fear, and you've made this big monster in order for you to never go up to that man, the crush that you like so much, so that you have no possibility of being rejected. So in order to fulfill the goal of not being rejected, she fabricated this blushing problem. And at first, when I read this, my mind, honestly, I was like, wait, there's no way. There's actually no way. And then he says later on, if it wasn't a blushing problem, she would have found something else. Maybe her appearance. Like, oh, actually now I don't have the blushing problem, but now like my appearance is really not there yet. So that's why I can't confess my feelings to this man, or I have anxiety or whatever. There's always going to be that one excuse, that one circumstance. Perhaps it's from the past or something beyond your control. And I started looking inward in my own life, and I started realizing that there's so many things that I told myself I wanted to do, but I wouldn't do because I said, okay, I have, for example, this vocal anxiety, so therefore I cannot put myself in rooms where public speaking is required. I realized, oh my God, I think I actually fabricated this anxiety. I made it such a massive monster for me to actually never put myself in those rooms where I will potentially be disliked or rejected. So in order for me to not be rejected and disliked by other people, I put this excuse that I actually just have anxiety, so I can't do that. That was my way of achieving that goal of not being rejected. This literally gave me new freedom because I realized that I had this subconscious goal of not putting myself out there because I fear the opinions of other people. And I would just find ways to never put myself in those rooms. Like, I was giving my fear so much more power than my confidence and my dreams and my calling. I gave fear the voice. The fear, of course, it's there. Public speaking is not an easy thing. Like, of course, it is there, and I acknowledge that it's there. But do I want to give the voice to my fear or to my faith? Chances are, if you're watching this, maybe you are a people pleaser and you saw the title, okay, Courage to be Disliked, I want that, and you don't know where to start. Again, there's this other concept from this book actually that talks about life task, how every person has a specific life task. So imagine this is your life task, okay? This is my, I'll write LT so that you can actually see my life task, and this is other people, other life task. How you determine if it is your task or not your task, you just ask yourself, who will bear the end result of me doing something or not? Or who will bear the end result of me pursuing my dreams or not? You. So that is your life task, right? Who will bear the result of someone else judging me? Them. It's their life task, their beliefs about you. You literally cannot control other people's beliefs. That is their life task. You cannot control other people's emotions. You have been given one body by God, one soul. You are enough to manage. Stop trying to get into other people's heads, because it's literally impossible to change everybody's minds. It is impossible to please every single person in the world. If you're doing that, then chances are you're wearing a mask and you're loyal to everyone, which means that you're loyal to nobody. Pursuing your calling is your control. Other people's beliefs and emotions and feelings and judgments about it, it is absolutely not your control. And when we meddle into other people's life tasks and we try to jump into their bodies, that's when we create our own hardships and we make life so much harder than it's actually supposed to be. And how do you stop jumping in other people's life tasks is acceptance of yourself. Like, accepting yourself is something that we struggle so hard to do. We're hiding things from ourselves all the time. That's why you struggle so hard with people pleasing, is because you're constantly seeking that recognition and that acceptance from other people. Look at your flaws directly and accept them. And for me, I have learned to accept my flaws, knowing that God sees me, like all of my flaws, all of my sin, all of my darkness, and He chose to send His one and only Son, Christ, to die for me. He chose to love me. He chose to put me in this earth. In Romans 5:8, it says, "But God demonstrates His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." So when I was still broken, when I still had all these shadow parts, all these flaws, Christ still loved me so much that He died for me. And what does that say about me and who I am and made in His image? And it just shifts a lot of things. It shifts a lot of things, knowing that you don't have to hide these things from yourself, from God, and therefore you don't need to hide all of these things from the world, because you have accepted them yourself. And that is when you actually finally let go of the people pleasing. That's the curious paradox, is when you accept yourself just the way that you are, only then can you be able to actually change. One last thing is, often we use other people's judgments as a way for us to not go after our dreams. And I just want to gently remind you that people are not thinking about you that much. People have their own life task all day. They are thinking about their own problems, their own image, and you are a background in their life. Sometimes we make our image like seem so big in other people's heads. Like, that's where some of the self-centeredness comes in, actually, and people are really not thinking about you that much. You're simply a background in their lives, and that might sound harsh, but it's not supposed to sound harsh. I just want to say this to free you to know that even if you do mess up, even if you do fail, what is there to fail anyway? You're just experimenting. Even if, you don't succeed at whatever you want to do, people forget about it. Like, I'm telling you, people don't fixate on other people's failures. I don't want you to go about your life constantly checking left and right what other people are thinking about, when all along they weren't even thinking about you. And that's why I love the quote, "Your worst sin is that you have destroyed and betrayed yourself for nothing." The ultimate human tragedy is not going after your calling, your passion, and the things that you really value. because you let your fear have a louder voice, because of comfort, because of convenience, because you want to please everybody. Radical self-acceptance, knowing that you are a new creation in Christ, knowing that you have been accepted already by God, that He sees you fully, He knows you fully, He knows everything that you're struggling about, so you don't need to pretend that you got it all together. Simply know that you are loved and you're accepted in Him. I would love for you to share in the comments the fear that you are letting go. If you want to read the article version, I also write on Substack. I'm really trying to get better at writing and committing to that as well. That is the new chapter for Mademoiselle Diaries, is more Substack, more articles, more YouTube as well, because I don't know, I just feel like God is really leading me towards learning how to communicate and express myself better, whether that be in writing or in speech. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.